Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to my channel. My name is Timisha, the Codepreneur, as well as your transformational coach here on YouTube, keeping it raw, real, and relatable, helping you transform spiritually, academically, as well as professionally. So in this video, I want to talk about how can you tell if you are studying right or wrong. So I'm going to give you a couple of tips so you can be able to answer that question for yourself right now. So I'm going to give you 3 tips so you can figure out if you are studying right or if you're studying wrong and how you can modify and change it so you can be successful. So the first thing is understanding versus memorization. Okay. Now, with the MBCOT, it is important to memorize some parts for this exam, but you have to understand that this exam is a critical thinking examination. All right. So having a understanding, a basic understanding of all the little components is going to be very vital and very crucial to you. Now, I want to let you know there is no way that you're going to know everything. I repeat, there's no way you're going to know everything. So come on, like brush off that pressure off of your shoulders, knowing that, listen, you just need to understand the basic components of the exam stemming from birth till death, right? And I know it's like, whew, that's a lot, Timisha, but you can do it because people are doing it every single day. All right, so understanding the difference between memorization and understanding. This is where we're at. So this is how you're going to check. If you can, right, regurgitate the information, meaning bring it back up and teach it to a 3rd grade, let's say a 5th grader, right? If you, or let's say it like this, a 10-year-old, right? Let's make it more specific. If you can be able to explain to a 10-year-old the concept of what you're studying, and then they are able to provide feedback to you, or we like to call return demonstration in our therapy. In the therapy world, would simply mean if they can explain it back to us, it doesn't have to be perfect, but if they actually got the meat and understanding of what you're saying, then you know that you are studying correctly and you have understanding, right? Also, same thing you can do to check is if you can explain it without fumbling all over your words, without pausing constantly. Another way to check is even if you don't, let's say, have a younger brother or sister or someone you know that's 10 years old, simply if you are explaining this to a spouse or a friend, okay, and they have no idea about what you're talking about, they're not familiar with occupational therapy, if you can explain that to them and they can be like, oh, okay, I understand, and then they can explain back to you just in a nutshell what you said, then you know you have an understanding. Okay. Whereas if you're memorizing and now you are memorizing, let's say, a definition, and you're memorizing, maybe a component of something, and then you're saying it to them, they might look at you like, can you break that down in layman terms? So this is why understanding is very important for you to check and see if you are really studying efficiently. Like I said, memorization is going to be important for certain parts. For example, you really need to have a good memorization of, let's say, milestones, right? When it comes to pediatrics, you really want to understand, reflexes. Those are the kind of things you want to memorize so you know what they are. Okay, because there's something I teach called the flex and straight method. So when flex and straight method questions come up, certain things you want to have it locked in, like what are the different reflexes, or what is the typical milestones at 6 months versus a 2-year-old, right? So those are the things you want to have basic memorization on. Now, granted, there's a lot that goes into that. So you still want to have a general understanding, but you do want to have, certain skills and understanding for each of those that you would need to memorize to be able to answer questions adequately and correctly. Same thing when it comes to, let's talk about maybe balance, right? If you have a question that is asking you about balance, if something is F minus versus a G, you need to know what that means, okay? So those are the things that you do want to memorize, but the major part of the exam is really more critical thinking. It's really asking you, what would you do in this scenario? And that is how you want to think when you're studying. What would I do as a coda in this scenario? So you always want to think about safety. You always want to think about the patient's goals, all right? And you also want to think about what is within our scope of practice, okay? So that is tip number one. Either you have understanding or you have memorization. You don't want to have just understanding without memorizing, and you don't want to memorize things and have no understanding. You actually want to be able to have a component of both, like I mentioned. All right. The second way you can check and see if you are studying correctly or wrong is retention, right? Are you remembering what you are studying? Okay. If you this is a good way of testing yourself. Let's say it's 8 o'clock in the morning. This is your study time, and you go ahead and you study material. And then you sit down at 2 o'clock and you have no idea what you studied at 8 o'clock. That means that you're not retaining the information. So what you want to go back and do is you want to include a little bit more repetition. You may need to improve your repetition, and you may need to create a connection with the information, right? So, and I'm a big component with this. And of course, this is going to make the video super long if I go into detail, but just know that you want to be able to connect what you're studying, all right, around visualization, around putting yourself in the seat as if you're the coda, right? Putting yourself into the scenario, and this is going to create a connection. A lot of times we like to use music, or we like to use jingles. This is a way that can help you retain acronyms, mnemonics. These are all strategies to support retention, okay? And then the last one is you want to test yourself. So for you to check and see if you're studying correctly, take quizzes, and that will let you know if you are studying right or if you are studying wrong. Hence, if you're getting questions correctly, right? So you want to take those quizzes, and you want people to quiz you. If you have a loved one, brother, sister, friend, whoever, you can actually have them read to you the question, and before they give you the answer choice, you should already be thinking of what should be the answer. And then when they give you the answer choice, then you can go ahead and provide them with the correct answer. And this is a really good technique for my auditory learners. Now, if you are someone that you was like, yo, Timisha, this video was great. I got a good amount of understanding from the video. What I need for you to do is hit that subscribe button. And then what you can do is in the description below, you can go ahead and download my free what is your learning style? What is your study style? And you can have that as my gift to you for free. And that will definitely help you figure out what your learning style is. And what you can also do if you are finding yourself really having a hard time and you're struggling and you're like, you know what, Timisha, just this small little snippet that you provide me really made a difference for me. I implore you to go ahead and check out Study with a Coda course. All right. Get your hands on that. It is a structured, organized 9-week course that will take you through the process of how to study. What is the secret weapon I use when it comes to answering NBCOT questions? And also it is a structured guide, daily information for you. And also what you can do too is if you're like, you know what, Timisha, the course sounds great, but I just really need help when it comes to just studying and just having peer support and accountability, then definitely join my Facebook group. Again, it is in the description below, and I would love to have you, and I would love to see you in the inside. So that is it. I'm not going to make this video too long because I can get long-winded, but I will see you in the next video. Until next time, bye-bye.